Welcome to DarkDox Digest. Today is January 30th, 2025. TULSI, KASH Patel, RFK. You have helicopters going into airplanes. Everything's going crazy. I'm your host, Christian Coffins. Wow. Where do we even begin? What a day. Happy Thursday, everybody. Not so happy for some. I would like to give my condolences to all the families of the victims of this plane crash that has happened right after our show last night. The first 20 minutes of our show got messed up because OBS Studio decided that I have to click start broadcast and then go live. So the first 20 minutes, I'm like, why am I not on my cell phone there? You like that intro? Donald Trump made that intro, and American Horror Story, 1984. If you're wondering, that is where our theme music comes from. It's just so perfect for DarkDox Digest. But yeah, we're doing these Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so I was wrapping up with the show and putting the full version on Rumble and BitChute.com/DarkDox and re-uploading to YouTube.com/Sacred Owls. So, and then as I was doing that, I got notifications. The DarkDox Network on Signal started blowing up, and apparently so is that airplane. So we're going to dive right into it. We got a packed show today. So let's turn on that display capture. Collision between helicopter and a plane kills 67 in nation's deadliest air disaster in a generation.
This is the moment a regional passenger jet carrying 64 people collided midair with an army helicopter near Washington, D.C. The two aircraft plunged into the icy waters of the Potomac River, prompting a massive search and rescue operation. But despite the rescue crew's best efforts, all of the passengers are feared dead, making it the deadliest U.S. air crash in nearly 24 years.
We are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident.
Officials said flight conditions were clear as the jet coming from Wichita, Kansas, was making a routine landing when the helicopter flew into its path. The crash occurred in some of the most tightly controlled and monitored airspace in the world, just over 3 miles south of the White House and the U.S. Capitol. Passengers on the flight included a group of figure skaters, including 2 Russian champions, their coaches and family members who were returning from a development camp in Wichita. This is the moment a regional passenger jet carrying...
It's just simply tragic. Apparently we're going to get into it, but long story short, this helicopter was, it seems, just ignoring the FAA in the tower. We have the audio, and they're just going straight. Hey, you're going to hit this airplane. Going straight. Hey, no, seriously. Hey, and then apparently the propeller hit the fuselage, so that's why it was like an instant explosion, like out of the movies. Apparently, we're having discrepancies on how many people are actually watching this right now, according to Greg Fernandez Jr. That is live in the chat. I really appreciate your support with me doing all of this. And all your clips that you brought today and everything. And he made it to the shorts. We have a big shout out, not just to Greg Fernandez Jr., but also to Data Battle Z, because he's doing our YouTube shorts. Oh my God. Thank you. Because... not only do I, for some reason, and maybe you might know about this, Data Battle, Ben, when I, am recording on OBS as I'm streaming, but that recording I can't drag into Sony Vegas Pro, so that's where I do my editing. I'm wondering if there's a setting, is there a codec? I don't know. So yeah, I'm curious about that. Yeah. So that was Associated Press. I pulled this up because they mentioned on the American Journal this morning with Harrison Smith, a Bandot video, that they mentioned on the flight recording, which we're going to play some of, that it was a PAT, and apparently that's either Department of Army, Priority Air Transport, Davidson Aviation Command, Fort Belfour, Virginia. This was near Langley. This was near the CIA's headquarters. This helicopter, where it was coming from. So I thought that was interesting that if you listen to the flight recordings, you'll hear PAT. This is from all airline call signs. And so, yeah. Trump is blaming this on DEI, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion measures. That's saying, like, doesn't matter what handicap, mental or physical you have, come on board. But everyone, pretty much right of center is saying, yeah, I mean, for a movie or something, or like you could be a teacher, or you can do all kinds of stuff. Well, maybe not mental disorders if you're a teacher, because you got to have mental capacity to teach kids how to do things, and so you're responsible for them. But definitely not air traffic control, definitely not pilots, because it's life and death. And so what's happening here is that the FAA is being sued for throwing out air traffic controller applications based on their applicants' race. So not only is it diversity, equity, inclusion when it comes to handicaps and all sorts of other disabilities and things, but we're also talking about because of the color of your skin, you're not eligible for this job. And we know that there's quotas and this and that. It needs to just come down to test scores and public relations skills, dealing with people. There should be a test for high stress situations. I mean, we've all seen Breaking Bad where like the guy's daughter just died and he's like, no, it's fine. I'm going to go to work. And he's just like fucking, out of it. It's no good. You need to have mental checks for these people. These are high risk, high stakes jobs, and they should get paid a hero's wage, but they should also be staffed by highly skilled, very cool customers that know what they're doing. Here's the audio between PAT25 and DCA Tower asking if they have the CRG in sight. Affirms and requests visual separation.
At-25, CRJ in flight. At-25, F1 is CRJ.
At-25 has a aircraft in sight, request visual separation.
Separate. The 472 Washington Tower, 1 star, 32017.
A lot of dead air here.
472. American 3130, go around turn left and 250, claim maintain 3000.
There you have it. Greg saying that Pete Hegseth said it was part of a continuity of government training operation. Sounds a lot like 9/11 with the NORAD, North American Air Defense Drill Valiant Warrior, where they were doing a test. They were doing a simulation to see if hijacked airliners hit the World Trade Center, and then so because of the exercise, and also Dick Cheney, Halliburton, Vice President of the United States, was under the White House conducting this exercise with NORAD, where they told the FAA, when the FAA asked, is this real life or exercise? And they said, oh, this is just an exercise. So again, they just so happen to be doing an operation, a test, a simulation, while the real thing is happening. Same thing happened with the 7/7 bombings in London. Look up the 7/7 bomb. It happened July 7th, several years after 9/11. And Paul Joseph Watson was still a teenager, and because I remember that was like one of the first times he was on Infowars, him and his brother. Yep. But we're going to get to that in a little bit. New Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth vows to... You're like Johnny on the spot over here. Total transparency as he delivers update on midair collision at Reagan International Airport. Let's watch.
But I also wanted to give an update on the tragedy that happened last night here in Washington, D.C. and provide a little bit more information as we are actively working to investigate and understand what occurred and why. At about 8:48 last night, a UH-60 assigned to the U.S. Army Aviation Brigade in the Military District of Washington, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, collided tragically with a civilian airliner. The unit involved, the Army unit involved, was Bravo Company 12th Aviation Battalion at Fort Belvoir. It was an annual proficiency training flight. And when we look at the crew, and not all kin have been notified, so we're going to withhold ranks and names at this point. We do know on our side who was involved. It was a fairly experienced crew, and that was doing a required annual night evaluation. They did have night vision goggles. A horrible loss of life for those 64 souls on that civilian airliner, and of course, the 3 soldiers in that Blackhawk. They're in our prayers, their families and their communities as people are notified. I can't imagine. And I know it's gone from a rescue mission to a recovery mission, and we're with all the first responders that are moving actively too. So at the Defense Department, our thoughts and prayers go out. We are actively investigating to find out what happened and why, and as we get updates, you will have them. God bless.
So 3 things. First of all, and Owen Schroyer said it, just a couple hours ago. It's nice to see. It blows my mind that like for the past 4 years we've been like living on autopilot here in the United States without actual officials doing actual work when things are actually happening. Where you had Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Joe Biden's always on vacation or sick or falling down a staircase or doing and not available. Please leave a message. Joe Biden's not here right now. And then you got Kamala Harris, just like when you can get her to talk, she's just lying and laughing and just out of her fucking mind. But no, we have this young man in this position right here, and you can see. He's concerned. His hair is on point from one gray fox to another. That's a hairdo. And as a fellow tattooed, punk rocker over here, I like to see a little ink on my government officials, especially when it's "We the People" on his arm, big as fuck like that. This guy, I'm a fan. But he seems very professional. He's doing his job. And we're going to hopefully get to the bottom of this. And it's pretty interesting that Lockheed Martin boasted of remote Blackhawk helicopter technology 3 months before this tragic DC aerial disaster. Here's our video on X. Do I got to refresh the page, really? Jerks.
Working hand in hand with the Army to modernize Blackhawk, to incorporate new technology, new capabilities to create the Blackhawk of the future. And one critical technology of all these things is autonomy. And that brings me here today.
Are we really going to fly this optimally piloted autonomous Blackhawk in Connecticut from 300 miles away right here in Washington, D.C.? And the answer is a resounding yes, we're going to.
going to see the aircraft come up to a stabilized hover, and this is going to simulate contested logistics operations where we would have a ground crew hooking up a sling load to the aircraft.
And this aircraft is holding position remarkably well.
Hell's bells. Oh my god. So Trump, in response to this, has called for immediate assessment of aviation safety. This shocking event follows problematic and likely illegal decisions during the Obama and Biden administrations that minimized merit and competence in Federal Aviation Administration, FAA. The Obama administration implemented a biographical questionnaire at a FAA to shift the hiring focus away from objective aptitude. During Trump's first term, it's weird because he talks in his. I have to kind of rewrite this as I read it. During his first term, his administration raised standards to achieve the highest standards of safety and excellence, but the Biden administration egregiously rejected merit-based hiring, requiring all executive departments and agencies to implement dangerous diversity, equity, and inclusion tactics, and specifically recruiting individuals with severe intellectual disabilities to the FAA. Consistent with the presidential memorandum of January 21st, 2025, Keeping Americans Safe in Aviation, Trump is further ordering the Secretary of Transportation and the Administration of Federal Aviation Administration to review all hiring decisions and change to safety protocols made during the prior 4 years. So, yeah, I mean, again, DEI is racist. DEI is dangerous. And if this was actually the cause of it, and it wasn't just a op or a false flag operation, or whoops, Lockheed Martin robot helicopter goofed, or were they trying to kill someone on the airplane? Or at this point, anything's possible, as we all know. In addition to that, he's also ending radical indoctrination in K-12 schooling. You can read about that. I'm sure it's fantastic and needed. He signs S5 into law. This is the Lake and Riley Act, which requires the Secretary of Homeland Security to take into custody aliens who have been charged in the United States with theft and for other purposes. I thought that was oddly specific, and I feel like there's more to that. And it's so short. It's unusual. Additional measures to combat anti-Semitism. Now, this one is problematic. First of all, it proves that Trump obviously isn't a Nazi. He has family members that are Jews, and he's totally with Israel on so many things, and that's one thing that me and him disagree on quite a bit, because they're not our problem. We are the United States. America first. This is a conflict of interest. They're a foreign nation. Yeah, it was made by the CIA. Yeah, Israel is an op. Yeah, it's probably used for money, definitely used for money laundering and all kinds of other horrible things. Of course, then you have the whole bio aspect of it too, with like gain of function and anyway. But again, the First Amendment protects anti-Semitism. I'm not anti-Semitic. I have Jews in my family. I love them. I'm a Christian. They're a Jew. We can all get along, as long as you're not breaking laws, in terms of everything we cover on this show. It's okay if you're a Muslim. It's as long as you're not breaking, as long as you're not a pedophile, as long as you're not a Muslim with child wives. I feel like I shouldn't have to say these things, but I will continue to say them until you guys fucking get it. moving on, Kash Patel. He got his hearings today, along with Tulsi Gabbard and RFK's second day. And let's see some of that. John Kennedy. I like his stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say for the record that Chairman Grassley is the greatest chairman God ever put breath in. And would somebody please tell Grassley I said that? You've made a lot of people mad, haven't you, Mr. Patel?
Seems so, Senator.
Think maybe you've made the right people mad?
As my FBI agents, the BRIC agents told me when I was running cases with them across this country and around the world, if you're not ticking off some people, you're not doing your job right.
Amen.
My colleague and friend, Senator Durbin, called you a conspiracy theorist. You remember that?
I do, Senator.
You were instrumental in revealing that the Trump-Russia election collusion hoax was a hoax, weren't you?
Yes, sir. I was a lead investigator.
Woo!
Sounds to me like we need to get some new conspiracy theories because all the old ones turned out to be true.
Facts matter, Senator.
Yeah. I mean, conspiracy theorists are up something like 37-0. You're not saying that everybody at the FBI is bad, are you?
Never said that. I've overwhelmingly said multiple times that 98% of the FBI is courageous, apolitical warriors of justice. They just need better leadership, especially those who participated in these conspiracies that actually turned out to degrade them.
Who put away the Unabomber?
Thank you.
The FBI.
Yep. Who put away Timothy McVeigh and his Stalin's stomach for blood?
BRIC agents at the FBI.
Who helped investigate Jussie Smollett, who, in an effort of self-aggrandizement, set back the fight for minority rights for years?
I think that was local authorities.
It was the FBI that opened an investigation, wasn't it?
Eventually, yes, Senator.
There have been or were some bad people at the FBI and the Justice Department, which work hand in glove, weren't there?
Unfortunately, yes, Senator.
Secretary Clinton's lawyer, a gentleman by the name of Michael Sussman, had a pass to come and go at the FBI building as he wished. Don't you think the American people have a right to know about the details of that?
Not just that, but what a political party was doing with the secure compartmented information facility with direct access to the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Mr. Hunter Biden cheated on his income taxes. Didn't pay $1.4 million in income taxes over 4 years. And he filed fraudulent returns. He tried to deduct his hookers as a business expense, for God's sakes. And they hit him with 2 misdemeanors before there was a public outcry. Don't you think the American people are entitled to know the details of that?
The American people are entitled to a singular form of justice and the details to every public corruption investigation.
You remember Peter Strzok?
I sure do.
One of the lead investigators for Mr. Mueller's Russian collusion hoax?
Yes, Senator.
Do you remember when the Inspector General, not his colleagues, turned him in? Inspector General found that Mr. Peter Strzok said, quote, sent an email to his girlfriend, quote, just went to a Southern Virginia Walmart. I could smell the Trump support, end quote. Remember that?
He did that while employed at the FBI while working on that investigation.
Do you remember when the IG revealed another email by Mr.
I could watch
Strzok
this
to
for
his
days,
girlfriend.
man. John Trump, I mean, if he ever wants to give up public service, he's the most like deadpan comic, and it's so skillful. I love it. Let's see. Adam Schiff wasn't as nice. Let's take a look.
Senator Schiff. Mr. Patel, early in this hearing, Senator Durbin asked you about the January 6th choir of inmates whose song you promoted, and here's what you said. I did not have anything to do with the recording. I did not have anything to do with the recording. Do you stand by that testimony, Mr. Patel?
Senator, what I said was I didn't do the recording.
You said you didn't have anything to do with the recording, which is interesting because here's what you told Steve Bannon on his podcast. So what we thought would be cool is if we captured that audio and then, of course, had the greatest president, President Donald J. Trump, recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Then we went to a studio and recorded it, mastered it, digitized it, and put it out as a song now releasing exclusively on the War Room. We. If you had nothing to do with it, Mr. Patel, why did you tell Steve Bannon and all his listeners that you did?
That's why it says we, as you highlighted.
Yeah, and you're part of the we, right? When you say we, that includes you, doesn't it, Mr. Patel?
Not in every instance.
Well, that's new. So when you said we, you didn't really mean you. Is that your testimony?
Not unless you have a new definition for the word we.
Oh, okay. I always thought we included the person who pronounced the word.
It's the
But
royal
maybe not.
we.
Well,
Everyone
you also
knows
said this,
that.
Mr. Patel. We were able to capture the recording thanks to their courageous singing, and we were able to take it to a studio. So let me ask you, Mr. Patel.
And is
after
it a crime
saying we
to
took it
record
to
a song?
studio,
I don't understand what
did you
he's
take it
bitching
to a
about.
studio?
Me personally, no.
After you said that we digitized and recorded it and all that, did you take it to a studio and digitize and record it?
Me personally, no.
Okay, so you were lying to Steve Bannon and his audience. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was using the proverbial we appropriately, as you've
The
identified.
royal we. Oh, I see. And so
The heck out of raising money for families in need.
with promotions on social media and saying you were going to get this to #1 on the billboards, right, Mr. Patel?
I think it did.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Isn't that great? People who violently attack police have a #1 song thanks to you, Mr. Patel. That's something to be really proud of. Now,
No.
you've claimed, Mr. Patel, you didn't know about any of these people in the choir. Is that right?
Death row.
I did not know about the violent offenders, and I did not participate in any of the violence in and
tell
around
me-
January 6th.
Tell me, Mr. Patel, what due diligence did you do to find out who was in the choir before you promoted their beautiful music? These people who assaulted law enforcement. What due diligence did you do?
Senator, I didn't record it myself.
So you did no due diligence before you promoted this song by these violent felons. Is that what you're telling us?
Senator, I did not record that myself.
So you're being considered for director of the FBI.
So
And here you did no diligence to find out whether people you were associating with now the President of the United States in song were convicted of attacking police officers.
So yeah, it goes on for 8 minutes. They got nothing on this
Is that
guy.
who we want?
It's just pathetic. Let's take a look at this one. Ted Cruz fires back at Democratic attacks on Kash Patel. Hit play.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, welcome. Let me first of all say thank you. Thank you for saying yes when President Trump asked you to serve in this role. I think there are very few roles in all of government that are more important than director of the FBI, and there are very few roles in all of government that are more in need of a fundamental change. You and I have both spent much of our adult lives working in and around law enforcement. And the loss of respect from the American people, of the FBI, and of the Department of Justice is one of the most tragic developments of the last 4 years.
Yeah, debatable.
Both the Department of Justice and the FBI have a long history of being apolitical, outside of politics,
Yeah,
of
debatable.
being faithful to and focused on upholding the rule of law and keeping the American people safe. And in many ways, the worst legacy, in my opinion, of the Biden administration was the complete politicization and weaponization of both the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Apparently, we're having some audio issues. Let me know if this is coming through clear. Testing 1 2 1 2. Should I sing a song? Or I don't know. I'm gonna keep going. Just power through.
Turning them into tools to attack the perceived enemies of the Biden White House. Now, you have been charged with going in and restoring integrity of the FBI. That is not going to be an easy task. But before you can carry out that task, and I am confident you will be confirmed and you will be in the position to carry out that task, you've got to make it through the gauntlet of the Senate Judiciary Committee and my colleagues on the Democrat side of the aisle, who I don't know how many spots on Senator Tillis's bingo card have been filled, but it looks like he's playing blackout and they're all filled right now. But you will be and have been accused of just about everything they can. But I want to focus on what several Democrats have done recently, which is trying to blame you for the violence that occurred on January 6th, which even in the annals of ridiculous attacks, this one really takes the cake. So let's just focus on some facts. Let me ask you a question. What role did you occupy in the days immediately before January 6th?
Chief of Staff of the Department of Defense.
You were the Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense.
Yes, sir.
So to be clear, you were not rioting at the Capitol. No, okay. Where were you physically on January 6th?
In the office of the Secretary of Defense in the Pentagon.
And what were you doing on that day?
On that day specifically, responding to preparing to mobilize and deploy the National Guard once we got the lawful request from the local governing authority, which was the mayor of D.C. and the Speaker of the House.
Now, how many days in advance were you working to prepare the Department of Defense to help secure the Capitol on January 6th?
Days in advance, Senator. We were in the Oval Office on an unrelated national security matter with the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and myself. And the President authorized up to 20,000 plus National Guardsmen and women to secure any security measures necessary related to the Capitol.
All right, so yeah, apparently we've had some audio issues. It seems to be pausing every couple minutes. I'm curious to see. I'm glad I record these things, so anything that's messed up on the live, we can re-upload this whole thing or segments. Or also, be sure to subscribe to us at rumble.com/DarkDox and bitshoot.com/DarkDox as well.
So we were moving.
And the full links for all of these videos is in the description for each episode. My laptop's really hot too. I'm wondering if I need to get one of those like fan things you sit under it so it has like more fans. I don't know. It's like extremely like loud and hot today. I don't know what's going on. The NSA is spying on me. You're under oath. Booker grills Patel about prosecutors involved in Trump's probes who were fired. That's why.
Of the flu here, but thought it was really important to come.
Everybody's got flu.
Yeah, it's been pretty rough, but I appreciate the time. And Mr. Patel, if I can jump right in, 12 prosecutors, career prosecutors, were involved in an investigation and prosecuting the cases against President Trump and were recently fired. Some of those that were involved in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Do you know who Brett Reynolds is?
Maybe, but it doesn't ring a bell at this point. So.
You're under oath. You have no recollection of who Brett Reynolds is?
If you could provide me with a little more context, I could possibly remember.
Are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with Trump investigations?
Senator, just to be clear, I did not participate in any of those DOJ
Sir,
decisions.
that's a yes or no question. Are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with Trump investigations? Yes or no?
I am not aware of that,
Thank you.
Senator.
There is no evidence of wrongdoing by FBI employees involved in these investigations. If you do pursue investigations of those involved, will you commit to using standard processes, including a standard review by the FBI Inspections Division and the Inspector General?
Senator, I will honor all those review processes.
You will honor those review processes?
Yes, Senator.
If these are actions that the FBI employees, if there are actions against FBI employees
This
that
guy's
do
like
not follow
big
the standard
mad,
process
dude.
that happened before you get in.
He's really intense. All right, one more for Kash Patel.
Thank you. We'll eventually talk about the FBI. That's the job you're up here for, right? Have you ever been subject to racism as an individual?
Unfortunately, Senator, yes. I don't want to get into those details with my family here.
Oh, let's get into a few of them. Tell me about it.
Well, if you look at the record from January 6th, where I testified before that committee, because of my personal information being released by Congress, I was subjected to a direct and significant threat on my life. And I put that information in the record. I had to move. In that threat, I was called a detestable, and I'll apologize if I don't get it all right, but it's in the record, a detestable sand nigger who had no right being in this country. You should go back to where you came from. You belong with your terrorist home friends.
Damn.
That's what was sent to me. That's just a piece of it. But that's nothing compared to what the men and women in law enforcement face every day. And that's why they have my support.
Okay. Growing up, were you subject to racism?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I think the reason you're here has a lot to do.
Dropping hard R's on Forbes. If you like what we do, please consider going to darkdox.me/shop. We got t-shirts. We got thumb drives with all of the DarkDox Network archives that have PDFs of declassified federal documents, e-books. You know, we have, Alex Jones says we have the documents. We have the documents. We have the Operation Northwoods. We have all the MK Ultra stuff. We have all the Majestic 12 stuff. We have, you name it, it's in there. I mean, we got tons of stuff on 9/11. If you go into the projectors or MP4 players, they have a micro SD card fully loaded with documentaries, all the Infowars stuff, our films, Zeitgeist, Esoteric Agenda, Jordan Maxwell, Behold a Pale Horse, you name it. I mean, just like we've been collecting films and documentaries for 20 years. Get your Trump buttons. We got Trump buttons. We got, these lovely thumb drives. We got vinyl records, vinyl stickers, all the t-shirts, more artwork coming soon. We got Blu-rays. We got comic books that come with music because, as some of you might not know, I am the front man of Sacred Owls, in addition to being the proprietor for DarkDox. And we're working on a new album. We got new musicians that are working diligently to bring an amazing show to you guys, to really get all of this information into, I weave these tales into music. I was a musician before I got into all this stuff, so that's what I'm doing over there. Also, if you want to support us and Alex Jones and Infowars, and you don't want to, give money to the people that are trying to steal Infowars, they're still in lawsuits, whatever, this is the solution. This is thealexjonesstore.com, and we're an affiliate. So if you go to thealexjonesstore.com/DarkDox, then buy something, sign up for the VIP club, we get 10%, and that really helps me out. Continue to do these things. So I'm also a member of the VIP program. I pay $30 a month. I get $40 in store credit. So if you're going to buy stuff from the store anyway, like the supplements or anything, and I'm not just a pimp for the Alex Jones store, I am also a customer. I got Brain Force. I got the Ultimate Gut Cleanse. Amazing. I'm like losing weight. I'm not even doing anything different. Also the Ultimate Sea Moss with bladder wrack and burdock root. It's a great source of iodine and a bunch of other nutrients. Also Infowars store.com, who I'm not an affiliate of, but I highly suggest you pick up the very last batch of X2 Survival Shield. This nascent iodine is dynamite. Just 2 drops a day. Between that and the sea moss gummies, you get all the iodine that you're missing from your diets. So you can get all of that. Well, you can get these at InfoWarsStore.com. Get the middle ones from theAlexJonesStore.com. And display capture. That is the end of the ads. Now let's get on to the lovely Tulsi Gabbard, looking like, she just she's like a superhero. That white outfit, that gray streak, class. Here are her opening statements.
To my husband Abraham, my family, friends, fellow veterans, Medal of Honor recipients, and patriots, thank you for your love and support. I'm honored and grateful to President Trump for his trust and confidence in nominating me to serve our country as the Director of National Intelligence at a time when trust in the intelligence community, unfortunately, is at an all-time low. Chuck Schumer admitted a few years ago, quote, "You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you." For too long, faulty, inadequate, or weaponized intelligence have led to costly failures and the undermining of our national security and God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. The most obvious example of one of these failures is our invasion of Iraq based upon a total fabrication or complete failure of intelligence. This disastrous decision led to the deaths of tens of thousands of American soldiers, millions of people in the Middle East, mass migration, destabilization, and undermining of the security and stability of our European allies, the rise of ISIS, strengthening of al-Qaeda and other Islamist jihadist groups, and strengthening Iran. Here are just a few other examples. The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once but twice, and yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin.
Treason.
Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI.
By the way, before I continue, I want to remind everybody, and you can look this up, go back in the archives, at everything that I've been saying for the past 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 20 years. The conspiracy theorists, or I like to call myself what Adam Curry coined a conspiracy therapist, where I will help you with your brain breaking. And I forgive anybody that, was angry or, treated me poorly because of this information that I was trying to warn all of you people about. We were right about COVID. We were right about the Hunter Biden laptop. We were right about all January 6th. It just goes on and on and on. And it's like, I don't have a crystal ball. I just pay attention to Infowars. I pay attention to a lot of news outlets. And so does Infowars. So that's why, Alex is the guy that woke me up to all this stuff. And we've come a long way since 2001.
James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Under Biden, the FBI abused its power for political reasons to try to surveil Catholics who attend traditional Latin Mass, labeling them as quote-unquote radical traditionalist Catholics. Personally, just 24 hours after I criticized Kamala Harris and her nomination, I was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. Sadly, there are more examples. The bottom line is this must end. President Trump's re-election is a clear mandate from the American people to break this cycle of failure, end the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community, and begin to restore trust in those who've been charged with.
All right, I gave you 3 minutes of that. It's a full 10 minutes. You can watch that whole clip in plenty of places. It's all over the internet. So, seems like a very smart, graceful, thoughtful, educated, experienced. This is a war veteran, all right? She used to be a Democrat, and she's joined the Trump train because Trump is not a sexist, not a misogynist, and he's picking people with good experience. So I do apologize for anyone that's watching this that's having audio issues. Greg is letting me know that it's skipping the audio. So I'm going to try my best to kind of plow through here and figure out what's going on with all that.
Senator, this is a discussion, if confirmed, I look forward to having with the president and his national security advisor. I'm offended by the question. Yeah. Edward Snowden broke the law. There's no question about that.
Colonel Gabbard, you were asked in your questionnaire about your priorities, and you listed Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah and North Korea. You also mentioned Russia. But the only thing you said about Russia in fully explaining why it's a priority is ending the war with Russia. When you talk about Russia, what are your fears or policy priorities beyond ending the war? How do you see Russia as a threat to the United States?
Senator, if confirmed as the Director of National Intelligence, it will be paramount for me to assess where our intelligence gaps may exist so that I can provide the President and all of you with the most accurate full picture of that threat assessment to directly answer your questions. I think that it is a complex environment. Russia remains a strategic competitor. There are a number of concerns that have to do with their nuclear weapons, as well as how the decisions and policies that are being made by this body and by the president will impact our own national security, which is my foremost concern.
I want to make certain that in no way does Russia get a pass in either your mind or your heart, or in any policy recommendation you would make or not make.
Senator, I'm offended by the question because my sole focus, commitment, and responsibility is about our own nation, our own security, and the interests of the American people. In carrying out the responsibilities of the Director of National Intelligence, if confirmed, no country, group, or individual will get a pass in my fulfilling that responsibility of providing that full intelligence picture so that you all can make the best informed policy decisions for the safety, security, and freedom of the American people.
You know, I mean, and she's absolutely right. This is how you need to deal with these people. It's like they're so crooked and so criminal, and they can't do anything straight and forward and honest, that the idea, you know, like they're just floating the idea. It's like, oh, you know, so, you know, you're not going to commit treason. You're not going to, you know, give another country a pass, like, for this and that. Like, that's treason. Anybody that's in the U.S. government that's an elected official that's working for the interest of anyone but we, the people of the United States of America, it's treason. It's treasonous activity. And the
You
punishment
have my
for treason
commitment to be completely
is death. Senator Collins questions Gabbard about in the confirmation hearing. There's some good stuff in here, I think, somewhere. Yeah, this chick was a bitch. Let's watch.
for those who have concerns to address them.
As you know, there has been speculation in the press that you met with Hezbollah, a terrorist organization affiliated with Iran. Have you ever knowingly met with any members, leaders, or affiliates of Hezbollah?
No, and it is an absurd accusation.
Let me ask you one final question in the short time we have left. With Hamas, ISIS-K, the Houthis, all the Iranian proxies in Syria and Iraq, Yemen, and Al-Qaeda all posing general resurgences in the Middle East, Africa, and Central Asia, I'm alarmed at the lack of focus by the IC on this threat to our safety. We don't want to have to call you back to this room after a terrorist attack and ask, how did the IC miss this? Great power competition, China, Russia, definitely pose threats to our country, but the terrorist threat is arguably the most imminent threat, according to former FBI Director Chris Wray.
The biggest threat is our own government. Always has been,
If
always will be. Maybe not always. Yeah, there's a lot of these. I'll spare you. Tulsi Gabbard addresses accusations that she is a puppet during the confirmation.
I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States. Accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters.
For real.
The same tactic was used against President Trump and failed. The American people elected President Trump with a decisive victory and mandate for change.
Woo!
The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet. I have no love for Assad or Gaddafi or any dictator. I just hate Al-Qaeda. I hate that we have leaders who cozy up to Islamist extremists.
Seriously, though. Look at this woman. Can anyone tell her what to do that she hasn't already decided that she's going to do because she thinks it's the right thing to do? She's a badass.
Minimize.
Senator Mullen defends RFK Jr. during confirmation hearing day 2. This is from the Greg Fernandez Jr. YouTube channel.
Next, it would be Senator Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, for being here. We have fortunately been able to form quite a friendship over the last year, and I appreciate it. Appreciate the in-depth conversations we've had. And I just want to point out, I don't understand why my colleagues all of a sudden say we can't question science. I mean, it absolutely blows my mind that all of a sudden it's such shame that Bobby's sitting up here and he's questioning science, because I guarantee you, if he was sitting here and he was going to be the Secretary of HHS underneath the former President Biden, which I enjoy saying former president, I would bet you that you guys would have his back 100% and enjoy the fact that he's questioning science, and would probably support his positions 100%. But because he's now on the Republican side, you guys have went way off the rail. And how dare he question science? My God, if we didn't question science, where would we be today? We've always questioned science. Science is always evolving and always changing. Have a glass of wine a day, it's healthy for you. Don't have a glass of wine a day. Have a piece of chocolate a day, it's healthy for you. Dark chocolate is healthy for you. Take an aspirin a day, as Senator Rand Paul pulled out. I mean, where would we be today if we didn't ever question science?
Right.
But I will say there's an issue that I have as a father of 6, that when my kids come out from getting their vaccines, they look like a freaking pincushion. I mean, 72 vaccinations? I think there's a reason we should be questioning this.
Amen.
When you start looking at the rise of autism, why wouldn't we be looking at everything? Who wouldn't want to look at everything? Give me anybody in this room that doesn't know somebody that you're personally connected to that one of their children doesn't suffer from some severity of autism. Give me one. And you guys are all saying that Bobby can't question it? I don't get it, guys. I don't understand your point, other than the fact you just oppose him because he supports a president that you guys don't like now. I applaud him for going into the situation and saying, let's question something. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. Is it not true that you're supposed to question science? Is anybody going to question the fact that that's not true? Bobby, share the numbers again with me about autism. Where they at when you as a child to where they're at today as my kids are children?
There weren't a lot of studies when I was a kid, but the best studies, and really the only studies out there are 2 studies. One shows a rate of about 1 in 10,000, another about 1 in 1,500. And you know, there are other estimates in between. Today, it is 1 in every 36 kids, according to CDC. I want to say one other thing. Relevant to the point you just made. In 1963, my uncle awarded John F. Kennedy the highest civilian honor to Francis Kelsey. Francis Kelsey was a young scientist at NIH who came in and objected to the panel having approved thalidomide for American children. All the scientists of that day, they were doing it in Europe, all the scientists of that day and the scientific panels that work for the agency approved, green-lighted thalidomide. She stood up and screamed and fought and risked her job and risked her reputation, and she blocked it in our country. 3 years later, everybody recognized that she was a hero and a savior of our children, because we were not getting the kind of terrible, diabolical deformities as they were experiencing in Europe. My uncle gave her the highest civilian honor because she questioned science and was courageous enough to stand up and say, I don't care what happens to me, this cannot happen.
And irony is that she was a Democrat at that time and she questioned science. But now all of a sudden, because you're working for Republicans, you're not allowed to.
Everything that I've played today from this administration, aside from the Democrats that are losing their minds over the most, trivial things, really, and disinformation, it's not working anymore. Like these people in the new Trump administration, they're smart, they're well-spoken, they're serious, they're down to business. Unlike this guy, Bernie Sanders. Let's see what he has to say, about the billionaires, since he's not, he's a millionaire, so he can't say millionaires and billionaires anymore. Let's see what he has to say.
President Trump and Mr. Kennedy are quite right when they say that our system is broken. They're right. Our economic system today is broken. 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Wages have been stagnant for American workers for 50 years. The economy is broken. You know what? Our political system is broken and corrupt. You have a handful of billionaires in both political parties who contribute huge amounts of money to elect candidates in this room throughout the United States Congress. That is a broken political system and a real threat to democracy. Our healthcare system is broken.
This is not a democracy, it's a republic.
And it's broken for some of the reasons that Mr. Kennedy indicated. We have not paid attention to the fact that we have massive amounts of chronic disease. We have not answered the question why in the richest country in the history of the world our life expectancy is lower than it is in countries far poorer than we are.
Because of big pharma and the fluoride in the water and the aspartame and the sucralose and all of the crap in the red dyes, all of that stuff. That's what they're working on. That's why they're bringing RFK Jr. in to make America healthy again.
So I think in many ways, President Trump and Mr. Kennedy have asked some of the right questions.
Okay.
Problem is their answers will only make a bad situation worse.
Oh.
So let me ask Mr. Kennedy again. If we want to make America healthy, will you assure the American people that you will fight to do what every other major country on earth does, guarantee health care to every single American?
I'm going to make America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? That's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
And protecting their interests.
No.
I thought that would come. No. I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
because I had
receiver of pharmaceutical money.
Contributions from workers all over this country. Workers,
you were the
not a nickel from corporate
Bernie,
PACs.
you were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in
1.5 million.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the people that are crushing up the pills in the factory.
You have not answered. Last question. You have not answered my question.
Mr. Chairman, we're 3 minutes over.
How do we make
bunch of Bernie bros making pills over at Pfizer. Yeah.
3 minutes over here now.
Well,
how long does it keep going? At some time, you're just battering the witness, Bernie.
Not battering the witness.
Yes, you are.
I'm not badgering the witness.
You're getting upset at him. You're going at him just like anybody else would.
We'll come to order.
Woo!
Bernie's going over.
It's better than watching sports. Love it. Let's watch more. I need more.
Senator Paul. I think the discussion over vaccines is so oversimplified and dumbed down that we never really get to real truths. And it's why people up here are so separated from real people at home. So we talk about hepatitis B. It's a terrible disease. It could lead to liver failure, as the chairman said. But the reason you have distrust from people at home, why they don't believe anything you say, they don't believe government at all, is you're telling my kid to take a hepatitis B vaccine when he's 1 day old. You get it through drug use and sexually transmitted. That's how you get hepatitis B. But you're telling me my kid has to take it at 1 day old. That's not science. And so every person with a bit of common sense, even people who don't resist vaccines, I vaccinated all my kids. I believe vaccines are one of the modern miracles beyond all pale. The Speckled Monster is a great book about the introduction of the smallpox vaccine in
I was with Rand Paul until he said he vaccinated all of his kids. I mean, I'm sure he's not talking about the COVID vaccination, but we're purebloods over here. I've had no vaccinations ever for anything, for any reason. I've never had any. And I get sick far less than pretty much everyone else. During COVID, I did not wear a mask, and I went out and did my business. I built a 2-story treehouse. Look, I built this while you guys were in your campcoco.com. Most of you don't know that, but while you guys are all trembling in your houses with your mask on by yourself in your car, getting a bunch of booster shots, I was eating beef jerky, smoking cigars, drinking whiskey, and building this thing. With my bare hands and some Ryobi power tools. Yeah, I use Ryobi because it's cheap. I get the brushless ones, though. They're nice. But yeah, so again, you don't need these shots. You don't need big pharma. You don't need all these doctors. I don't even have health insurance. I just simply take supplements from thealexjonesstore.com and infowarsstore.com. All right. Let's see what Nicole Shanahan is warning to senators who vote against RFK. He's making threats. What's going on here?
Our next guest has a pretty simple message to senators from both parties if they oppose RFK Jr.
Bobby may be willing to play nice. I won't. If you vote against him, I will personally fund challengers to primary you in your next election, and I will enlist hundreds of thousands to join me.
You recall Nicole Shanahan was RFK Jr.'s running mate in his run for the presidency when he ran as an independent. She was his vice presidential running mate, and she joins me now. Nicole, great to see you today. What did you think of the hearing? What did you think of the performance by both the senators and RFK?
All right, the dramatic music is killing me. Link in description. No one needs that, bro. This is RFK Jr.'s 9/11 stance.
I drove to the airport at 6:30 this morning and went across the bridge over the Potomac and saw the operation, the recovery operation, kind of underway in daylight hours. And I thought about the last big aviation disaster in Richmond when, on 9/11, a plane slammed into the Pentagon, and Virginia got hurt very bad that day, and so did the nation. Just a couple of months ago, you posted this.
I still think it was a missile. Where was all the wreckage?
On 9/11, it's hard to tell what is conspiracy theory and what isn't. I'd like to introduce that for the record, Mr. Chair. We take that kind of stuff pretty personally. Virginians know what happened on 9/11. We don't need folks giving oxygen to conspiracy theories about 9/11. Now, one thing I noticed about this post is it was in July of 2024. It was 23 years after 9/11. You had a lot going on in your life. You were running for president then.
Yeah, 9/11 slogan is literally never forget. It's my birthday, so I always make a joke like, oh, when's your birthday? 9/11. Never forget. So yeah, we're going to keep talking about 9/11 until it's exposed that it was a false flag operation that killed thousands of Americans and was the pretext for the Iraq War and for the Patriot Act and other horrible things that came after. So yeah, we're never going to forget.
What made you decide, in the midst of everything going on in this country, in this world, in July of 2024, in your own candidacy for president, that now was the time to say it's hard to tell what is conspiracy and what isn't about 9/11? What was so important about making this point in July of 2024?
Senator, the dramatic drop in trust in our government, and this is particularly one of the templates for that is what happened at CDC.
Yeah, no, I want to move aside from that. Because you say, you go on to say, I won't take sides. As president, I won't take sides on 9/11. Wow. I won't take sides on 9/11. Let me ask you this. As a general matter, do you find it hard to tell what is a conspiracy theory and what isn't? Is that kind of a general deficit that you find?
So this is important. What he's doing here, and I feel that this is a mental illness with Democrats, and some Republicans historically have kind of pulled this, but like you look at the record, not nearly as much. They will cherry pick just a couple of sentences and then just focus on that and repeat that over and over and over and over and over and over. Operation Mockingbird. They just over and over and over. But what it's like a good example was the Donald Trump's really fine people. Oh, there was really fine people on both sides. End clip right there. Do not put the rest of the clip. Do not watch that entire clip. Whatever you do, because you'll see it says, and I disavow the KKK and other hate groups and all racist. I disavow David Duke. I disavow all of it. He says it right there that he's not a racist. He's not. And there, but he was talking about. There were really fine people on the left and on the right during the Charlottesville thing, protesting for and against all the things that were happening on the left and on the right. There were very fine people on both sides. You can say that and then also disavow the far left Antifa radicals that are burning down police stations and throwing Molotov cocktails and assaulting people and pepper spraying people and throwing bricks. I can go on and on and on. And same goes for the far right. The people that were instigating violence, that guy that drove into a crowd, like, these are horrible things. Left, right, doesn't matter. They're criminals. You have a right for free speech and free expression. That's your First Amendment under the Bill of Rights under the Constitution here in these great United States. You have the right to be racist. You have the right to be a racist black guy or a racist white chick or whatever. Like, I don't like Asians. Like, you can say that. It's okay. And, it's legal. It's not popular, but it's legal, and but you see what they're doing here is they're not reading the whole thing, because as president, I won't take sides on 9/11 or any other debates, but I can promise that I will open files and usher in a new era of transparency. That's the point of the posts. It's to, point out that it's like, hey, like, he's being diplomatic, whether you believe this or that or this and that, we'll let the truth decide. But no, this scumbag will keep playing politics, and this little it's not disinformation. It's not misinformation. It's malinformation, where it's the right information, but it's partially redacted or like focusing on like not the main point.
Let me ask you this: as a general matter, do you find it hard to tell what is a conspiracy theory and what isn't? Is that kind of a general deficit that you find in your own analytical abilities?
My father told me when I was 13 years old, he said, people in authority lie, and that the job of a citizen in every democracy is to maintain a fierce skepticism.
Okay, I get it.
Of government authority.
And then they interrupt you. I mean, every 2 seconds. Can't even get a word in edgewise.
You're an authority, but you wouldn't take sides on 9/11, and you're admitting, I have a hard time telling what is a conspiracy theory and what isn't.
Senator, I haven't investigated it. If the things that I investigate, I take sides on. People are allowed to hold that opinion. I'm not going to tell them they're crazy for holding that opinion. I'm going to say, what is your evidence? And if I hear the evidence, I'm going to say, that doesn't make any sense.
So you won't take sides on 9/11. Wow.
See, just focus. I mean, this is the oldest trick in the book. That and, yes or no answer, da-da-da-da-da. You have to say yes or no. It's like there's complicated kind of situations that are, it's not a yes or no thing. It's like, well, there's those guys and, they're in all these different factions, and some of them are doing some good things, but some of them are doing this stuff over here, and we need to keep... It's complicated. Geopolitics, politics, domestic politics is very complicated, and there's a lot of actors, and there's a lot of stakeholders, and it's exhausting. And by the way, this is from childrenshealthdefense.org. Jaw-dropping study finds vaccinated children have 170% higher risk of autism. Something that was big in today's hearings, where they were just everyone on SSRIs was just going off and getting short-circuiting. But the peer-reviewed study also found that vaccinated children had a 212% greater likelihood of developing other neurodevelopmental disorders, including ADHD, epilepsy, seizures, brain inflammation, and tic learning disorders. I mean, we just saw the spike in all of that once they started pushing vaccines on everybody. I'm actually, I could take the out and have the robot. Let's see what it sounds like.
Vaccinated children have a 170%.
Now I'll read it. Vaccinated children have a 170% higher chance of being diagnosed with autism compared to unvaccinated children, according to a new peer-reviewed study. And the link is right there. And it goes to publichealthpolicyjournal.com, vaccination and neurodevelopmental disorders, a study of 9-year-old children enrolled in Medicaid. So this isn't just some fringe website. The study also found that the vaccinated children had 212% higher. Why is tick outlined? Tick is from... Okay, so these are several different links. This is from Cleveland Clinic for Ticks and Disorders. This is from Courageous Discourse. It's a medical doctor's website. Childhood vaccination associated with autism, learning disordered seizures, encephalopathy, and tics. I'll learn how to speak this language one day, I promise you. According to the study, the childhood vaccination schedule is likely a significant contributor to the higher rate of autism and neurodevelopmental conditions in vaccinated children. The study of 47,155 9-year-old children enrolled in the Florida Medicaid program since birth was published on January 23rd. The Science, Public Health Policy, and the Law. Carl Jablonowski, PhD, senior research scientist for Children's Health Defense, said the paper is unignorable simply by the soundness of its methods. The sheer hazards associated with severe childhood disease is jaw-dropping. The paper's author, Anthony R. Mouson, and Binu Jacob of the Mississippi-based Chalfont Research Institute hypothesized that childhood vaccination is associated with autism and other neurodevelopmental disorders. Increasing numbers of vaccinations lead to higher risk of autism. Vaccinated preterm babies are at greater risk of neurodevelopmental disorders than unvaccinated babies. Link in the description. It's heartbreaking. Brett Cooper's back. She had her first episode today, and it was delightful. I'll play a little clip of it to end out this show, and but definitely check out her new channel at B Brett Cooper on YouTube, and I'll tell you why I'm playing this specific clip.
Isn't the goal to change people's minds and bring them over to the other side and show them the light? Like, that is what my goal is. But now people are seemingly upset when that happens because these individuals who have come over weren't right all along. Like, we spent 10 years fighting tooth and nail, proving people wrong, fighting back against cancellations, dispelling allegations about us, about our political party, about things going on in the world, exposing corruption and lies day after day after day, trying to convince people. I thought that was the goal. I actually look at Whitney Cummings as a huge win, like a bold win, a refreshing acknowledgement of how far we've come, how many people have bravely, dipped their toe onto the other side, who have admitted that they were wrong and that they've now seen the light. That is objectively a very good thing. And I commend her, and we should all commend her, for having the bravery to admit when she was wrong and take a step to the other side. And again, a lot of people think that this is a grift. A lot of people think that it's not real, that she hasn't actually changed her mind. I completely disagree. Like, you can literally go back over the last couple of years and you can see where and how her mind started to change. One of my good friends, Chris Williamson, he has a podcast, Modern Wisdom. She has been on his show twice in the last couple of years.
So the reason why I'm playing this clip in particular is because two things. She's right, of course. I'm going to get a better still shot of her because it's better. But she's absolutely right. Like, we have to be understanding of people when they break out of the matrix and they wake up to all of the stuff that we've been warning them about for years and years. And we have to be able to be like, yeah, I know, it's crazy. You know, I didn't believe it at first either. And you kind of walk them through the process of grief. And, you know, this is a lot to unpack, man. And Pac-Man. But the second point is, we were right about all of this stuff the whole time. So yes, we need to be accepting of people that change opinions, but also everyone needs to admit that the conspiracy theorists were right and give us the respect we deserve. So with that being said, if you like what we do, and you're on BitChute, please subscribe to /DarkDox. And then also on Rumble, we're posting all of these at rumble.com /DarkDox. If you're on X, we are Sacred Owls Unite. So that's Sacred Owls Unite. Actually, let me go ahead and click on this. Why can't you tab other things? I'm going to play this first because it's hilarious. Meanwhile, in New York...
Nueva York. Lo loco Nueva York. La vida de Nueva York, lo loco.
Don't do drugs, kids. But yeah. What do you mean add an existing? Can I just click on... How does this work? I'm such a boomer. I have to click on that. Yeah. x.com /Sacred Owls Unite. There you go. And this is this video. It's like Inception. If you like what we do and you're on Cash App, you can send me money at cash.app /DarkDox or scan this QR code with your phone or other devices. And yeah, give me $5, bro. Give me $10. Buy me a chicken dinner. That's it. It's time. You know what time it is? It's time to go back out to outer space and then come back down to SeaWorld, which is my favorite place on Earth, here at the Sky Tower in Orlando, Florida. This is Christian Coffins once more saying, oh yeah, and it's Thursday, so you guys have a great weekend. And again, my heart goes out to all of the families of this tragic crash, and let's hope our scumbag government or somebody in our scumbag government wasn't behind it, and it was just a freak accident. Let's hope DEI wasn't responsible, but nevertheless, this brought a lot of awareness that that's a very dangerous job, and we have to have skilled people in order to build these roller coasters and skyscrapers and bridges. I'm an engineer. I work on a lot of these things. I've actually done stuff for SeaWorld in the past, and a lot of care goes into everything we do, and if people are not careful, terrible things happen. So that was a tragedy today. Hopefully TULSI, RFK, and KASH, after this gauntlet that they've been put through, can get, confirmed and put in their roles and can start making a real change in this U.S. government, because we need it. This is Christian Coffin saying, beware, take care, and have a great weekend.
This is Jersey Joe, and you're listening to the DarkDox Digest. DQ with your host, Christian Coffins.